Hello, to bring you back, just waffling about bass gear again. See you in a minute. Right, I've been moving stuff around yet again. Um, I'll explain in a minute, but what I've managed to do is um, move the shelf slightly higher up again. Let's go back. I've managed to get the two sort of PA cabinets under the shelf and my little guitar amp in that gap. And I've managed to find a little bass amp, little practice bass amp, which will fit in that space there perfectly, and then that will sit on top of it, giving me my two amps as usual. Well, I'm going to turn round and I'll sit down and we'll have a chat about what I'm doing, as always, moving things around. At least I've got a bit more space where that was stacked up. I've now got my gun and my bass hanging up on the wall. Right, let's turn around. I'm just going to check this bit of video because the numbers on these number plates are around the wrong way in the screen, and there's two settings on this phone. This is my newer phone. There's two settings on it for which way round the it films and plays back. So back in a sec. Yeah, it's the right way round when you play it back for some reason. Also, with the new phone, if I'm not actually playing, I'll just use the new phone because it's easier to upload. With the new phone, sometimes it's got like a filmed in Panavision, top and bottom, like a really, really wide cinematic thing. I've looked at all the settings and it seems whatever. If I put it on 16:9 or full or fill or whatever, it still comes out the same. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Yes, another camo bit of clothing. It may seem like I always wear the same things in every video, but I don't. I've actually got three of these in three different colours. A green and brown camo one, this grey and whatever colour it is, I'm a bit colourblind, so grey and grey, and then there's another one which is grey and very light blue, I think. Anyway, so I just keep rotating these all the time. So anyway, that's continuity. You always think I'm wearing the same clothes. Dirty git. So that's all that rubbish out of the way. Yeah, it's just gear thing. Me constantly searching for a sound I like. To be honest, in the last, however, well, all my life while I've been playing any instrument, I've never been happy with the sound. I've always been searching for something that probably doesn't exist. But having gone from being going out playing live to not playing live anymore and just needed something for home, it's quite difficult because I'm used to having massive rigs. You've seen them in the past before. I mean, the last bass combo I had was the 600-watt 15-inch and horn Ashdown, which I could no longer even pick up, let alone go out and play with. And I've also had the rigs where I've had the two 15-inch cabinets, the two 2x10 cabinets. So I've got a 15 and a 2x10 on one side and a 15 and a 2x10 on the other side, and a 300-watt Harkey head running both the 15s, and the Harkey head is semi valve or tube, depending on where you're from. And then the 2x10s being run by a PV Valve King 100-watt valve guitar head, which is like ridiculously loud, the whole thing. and I'm used to playing like when me and Sam rehearse. It would normally be at one of two places. They're quite big open spaces, and with bass, you need a hell of a lot of watts to get the sound across. Whereas guitar, you don't. It's just a frequency thing. I'm not a, I was going to say physician, but isn't a physician a doctor? Anyway, I'm not a physics person, but I do know if you want to get bass frequencies to be heard, you need a hell of a lot more watts power than guitar. So the frequencies cut through differently. So having said all that, I've got rid of all the big gear for live because I obviously don't need it. I'm not playing live. But when you're used to that amount of punch and amount of air movement and the amount of volume, it's hard to find something you can use at home which still gives you the punch and the drive you want. So I've been messing around with this PA head plus the 2x10 bass cabinet plus the 1x12 full range cabinet plus the little Laney 30-watt guitar amplifier for the high frequency guitar type sound. And to be honest, the PA part of it sounds cack. It sounds great as a PA system with a couple of, normally we'd use it with a couple of full range PA speakers, a 12 and a horn in each speaker, and they sound great as PA for vocals, bit of kick drum, and a bit of whatever, maybe mic'd up guitars and bass. Anyway, or DI bass. But in here, with the 2x10 bass cabinet at the bottom and the 12 full range flat frequency response, mid-range, full range speaker, it just sounds pants. I just don't like it. So I've been searching for about 6 months for a bass combo amp, practice amp basically, and it needed to fit in the space in here because I'm really limited in here for space. And anyway, yesterday I found one, and it's going to be quite interesting because it's a proper practice amp. It's pretty much exactly the same dimensions as my little Laney. Where are you? Sorry about that. Wobbling you around. Come on, Springy. My little Laney, which is a 30-watt guitar combo. It's about the same physical dimensions, but whereas the Laney's got a 10-inch speaker for guitar frequencies, this one I've just found and bought, it's got a 12-inch bass speaker in a bass cab, and it's literally 25 watts. It's a Park by Marshall, so it's going to be interesting. But basically, because I'm in a small space, I'm not going to play live, I don't need the volume, but I still want it to sound like a bass amp on the bottom end. So anyway, after months and months of searching, I found this little combo amp, and it was £35, so it was the perfect price because all the expensive stuff has gone out the window since I've been basically unemployed or self-unemployed or unemployable. So yeah, all the big gear's gone, and it's now, this will be my smallest bass amp I've ever owned, pretty much in stature and power. But strangely enough, yesterday when I was measuring up, before I ordered this thing, it is actually at a Cash Converters. It just happens to be a couple of towns away, so they're going to send it in the post. But for 35 quid, if it don't work, it'll just become another top end cabinet, or I'll chop it up and make something else out of it. But yeah, strangely enough, when I was moving everything around again in the garage yesterday to try and just fit everything in, I ended up with the space for this cabinet and the Laney cabinet, and it will fit in perfectly. Yesterday, after packing away the PA side of it, because I just don't like the sound of it, I plugged my bass straight into the Laney 30-watt guitar amp, and it is properly a guitar amp, not a bass amp. And it actually sounded great. I messed around with the EQ and turned the bass up on it, turned the treble up a bit, took all the mid-range out for the sort of 80s Trace Elliot scoop that I like. It sounded great. It sounded better than the PA with all the other speakers, and I got cat hair or something in my eye. Yeah, it sounded better than anything else I've tried since getting rid of all my massive gear. So that was quite an eye-opener. Now, I wouldn't use it as a bass amp because the speaker, the amplifier side of it doesn't matter. You can run a bass guitar through any amplifier you like. It really doesn't matter. It's the speaker. The speaker has to be a bass speaker. It will play through the guitar speaker, but it will eventually blow it. Now, having said that, I obviously play half of my signal through a guitar amp and a guitar combo with a guitar speaker in it. But what I do in that part of the signal is I take all the bass off and all the middle off, and I turn the treble up completely, and on my pedals, the affected signal which goes into that particular amplifier, I also turn all of the, if there's a tone control, I turn it to fully treble. If it's got bass and treble, the bass is off. You get the idea. So I run it on full treble, no bass, no middle. And thus far, and all the amps I've done that over the many, many, many years I've been splitting my signal, I've never blown the speaker on the top half, even if it's a guitar cab, not a bass cab. So there you go. That's a massive long 20-30 minutes worth of waffle. When this thing turns up, it's going to be sometime this week. I'll bring it in, set it up. I'll get the other phone out to record the sound, and we'll have a listen and see if I can get used to playing at a volume that's acceptable in a garage or a house. Not that I've really got any neighbours around me or anything. It's pretty decently remote. I'm not attached to anyone here, house or garage. But for my own benefit and for the sake of I don't need to play really, really loud, Sam will be happy next time we get together and jam and record, because he's always got like earplugs in and headphones on, and he can still hear me clearly. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm going to leave you now because it's probably really, really boring unless you're into bass guitar and amplifiers. So I'll catch up when it turns up, and we'll have a look at it and see if it even works. It might. Who knows? You never know from the old Cash Converters. Having said that, I got that Laney amp from Cash Converters. I'll give them £10 for it. They wanted 50 quid. I turned it, plugged it in, stuck a jack lead in it, my finger over the end, and the pots were scratchy. I said, no, it's no good. The pots are all knackered. I'll give you a tenner for it. So they sold it for me for a tenner. I brought it home, took the amp chassis out of the cabinet, cleaned all the pots out with electrical contact cleaner, squidged them all around for a bit, and they work perfectly now. So happy days. Right, peace and love. I'm Springy. I'll see you soon. Apologies for the long waffle. Yeah, update when it turns up. Cheers.